Very much for an enlightening presentation. Do you know of any credible Muslim initiatives to reform Islam?
Yeah, there are actually quite a number of them. I think Zuhdi Jasser expressly refers to himself as a reformer, and he's worked very hard to try to more broaden in a more popular way an interpretation of Islam that nullifies the jihadist commands. And I think part of the problem that he has, and that a lot of reformers have, is that they're not Islamic scholars. Zuhdi's a doctor, but he's a medical doctor. He's not a doctor of Islamic jurisprudence. And this is very dangerous business for these guys, because in the supremacist interpretation of Islam that is actually mainstream Islam in the Middle East, departure from scholarly consensus is deemed to be apostasy, which is a death penalty offense. So when a lot of people hear the reformers who are in this culture, they think that they're committing profound sin, which certainly hurts their credibility, right? And it's important to understand that a lot of the debate that we've had about free speech and the intersection between free speech and Islam would lead the common person looking at or watching the debate to believe that the problem is that Sharia prohibits insults to Islam, insulting depictions of the Prophet. Things like the Muslim equivalent of piss Christ that to any believer in Christianity would be offensive. It's unfortunate that that's the context of the debate, because I think even those of us who believe fervently in free expression at some level think that our discourse would not be compromised in any material way if that kind of expression were forbidden, even though in the back of our minds we know it's a dangerous, slippery slope to forbid insult, because the next thing we're into what's really an insult and what's political discussion, etc. That distorts the threat that Sharia standards pose for American First Amendment principles, because in Sharia, it's not just insults to Islam that are forbidden expression. It's actually anything that departs from scholarly consensus, anything that subjects Islam to critical examination, anything that could cast Islam in an unflattering light, or anything that could sow discord in the Ummah, which is the global Islamic community. So if you think about that, this discussion that we're having today could not take place in many parts of the Middle East where Sharia is the law, because we wouldn't be allowed to conduct a conversation where we're having a critical examination of Islam. To go, one more thing on your question. I know that Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who is an apostate, has recently changed her view. I know I reviewed her new book a few months back for the New Criterion. She was of the view up until fairly recently, I think, that Islam was a lost cause. And she's actually become, I think she would tell you herself that she's become hostile not just to Islam, but to other religious faiths in general. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think that's a fair analysis of her position. She now takes the position that Islam is salvageable, but there would be certain very difficult things to do that would have to be done in order to reform it in an effective way, including departing from the example of Muhammad and taking him down several pegs in the pantheon of important Muslim theological principles. If that's the only way it can be reformed, I don't want to say that it can never happen, but it's not going to happen in my lifetime, that's for sure. Yes, sir?